Look who is here to talk about hardcore sunscreen. Ooh. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cyrille. I used to be a stem cell researcher for quite some time, and this is why I can tell you about the science behind skincare ingredient. And today we are not going to talk about my beautiful dog. His name is Guabao, but lots of you have requested me to feature him in one of my videos, so here is my beautiful dog. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to talk about sunscreen, people. Yes, but not like every type of sunscreen. No, hardcore sunscreen, you know, like my favorite category. So I'm going to put the dog back on the floor because apparently he's not really happy to be on daddy's lap. So, hardcore sunscreen, what are those? Hardcore sunscreen are a type of sunscreen that are SPF 50 plus because, well, unless you're new here, I only recommend SPF 50 plus, and I repeat, I do not recommend you to go below SPF 50 plus. This is for sure. I don't emphasize this again, but guess what? UVB are dreadful, like horrible for your skin. So you do not want to have UVB. So the less that goes into your skin, just the better. Now, the main issue with probably like 90% of sunscreen on the market is the damn UVA protection, unfortunately, especially when you are going to spend a long time outside, so hence exposed to a lot of UVA and also UVB, obviously, but also for those of you who are suffering from hyperpigmentation. If you are suffering from hyperpigmentation, you absolutely need, I repeat, you absolutely need a hardcore sunscreen. Recently, I have watched a video from a famous doctor here on YouTube based in London about people of color in hyperpigmentation, and I was like, oh my god, girl, you really know absolutely nothing. I repeat, nothing about sunscreen protection. This is very, very insane, especially if you are suffering from hyperpigmentation. I mean, if you are suffering from hyperpigmentation, you live in an area where you are bombarded by the sun, really the UVA is the key. And I cannot tell you how many of you, of my subscribers, especially for those of you who are people of color, or simply you have very fair skin like myself, but you are suffering from those dark spots and etc. Lots of you have told me, oh my god, Cyrille, since I've tried one of your hardcore sunscreen, the P20 for example, so you can check my video about this one, I'm going to link it. I don't tan, I no longer have those problems and etc. This is really like a huge part. So on today's video, I'm going to talk about two new ones. One is German, I think it is German, but you can also find it in France. And another one is a French one with like a mind-blowing, I'm telling you, a mind-blowing UVA protection. And it is not tacky, not too greasy, so very, very impressive. So the first baby of the day, this one from DeLong, this is the Cetaphil, the Sun Kids SPF 50 plus, and this one, according to the brand, has a delicious and wonderful UVA protection of 35, and you know, in that case, I'm like in love. You know, I can listen to the Titanic song every night in my dreams. I mean, you know the rest, I'm in love. So, let's talk about this bad boy. So this one is retail for kids. Most of the time, sunscreen that are sold for kids are the one without any perfume, which I always tend to favor and to recommend, especially for those of you who are who tends to be sensitive to perfume. I mean, it's always better. And also, I have to say that personally, I find most perfume in sunscreen that are so offensive, like offensive, super strong, and etc. And when you have like to reapply them and etc., not good. So something that is very nice about this one is that it comes with a beautiful pump that deliver 1 gram of product. So 1 gram for most of you would be the minimal, I repeat, the minimal quantity just for your face. So yes, it is a lot of product. What else to tell you about this one? It's quite runny, the texture, which I find quite pleasant. But again, when it is very runny, always be careful because a little bit can go a long way, which is never something that you want. So with those type of texture, like, you know, the milk also version, the Japanese milk, that are very runny, very liquidy, always keep it in mind. You always need more than what you think, but it's so convenient to have a pump. Oh my god, I just love it. So basically it's 1 pump for your face, 1 pump for your neck. In terms of filters, I always break down the filters for several reasons. First of all, but because this one is a European one, of course the coverage will be optimal. But I had this question, is it on Instagram or on YouTube? I don't remember, and someone had asked me, but why is it always important to have several filters? Simply because most filters, they have what we call a peak of absorption. So basically they are going to be the most efficient for a certain wavelength of UV. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but basically when we are talking about UVB and UVA, for example, UVA type 2 and UVA type 1, they are in reality a lot of different UVB. They are the one that are closest to 290 nanometers, the other one that goes more to 300. So you have like a spectrum, and the filters will have like a maximum of absorption only on one point. So if you increase the filter, you just increase basically the coverage of absorbance, because the whole idea is that the whole UVB, the whole UVA type 2 and the whole UVA type 1 has to be covered. And this is the case, of course, of this one. The other thing that is very important with filters is for those of you who are sensitive towards certain filters. This is this is very important, because I know, especially on the market, if you live in the United States, it is like a perfect nightmare. But also if you live in Europe, actually like in France, most sunscreen are made with the same filters. Therefore, if you are sensitive to one of them, you will find them in most of them. And then we have this common myth that all organic, that are always referred to chemical sunscreen, you know that I don't like this. But basically people think that they have to give up on them, which is not true. So this one, it contains the first one, Uvinol A+, which is a beautiful UVA, mainly type 1 filters that also absorb some UVA type 2, but basically this is the modern alternative to avobenzone. Bye bye avobenzone. Avobenzone is one filter that lots of people tends to be sensitive to it, myself included. The other one is octinoxate. Octinoxate is also a very famous UVB absorbent that you find in almost every actually Japanese sunscreen. I don't even recall one without it. Actually, then we have the beautiful Tinosorb S, which is an organic broad spectrum filter that absorbs UVB, UVA type 2, UVA type 1. By the way, with these filters, we have no report that it goes into the blood. We have no reports for allergies and etc. So no problem at all. We have then the wonderful Tinosorb M, which is again a broad spectrum filters. This one, the difference with the Tinosorb S is that the absorbance for UVA is a little bit higher, and also it filters a little bit more of UVA type 1 that linger to visible light, which we love. And when you combine the two, you already know like I am crazy in love. And the last one is Uvinol T150. Uvinol T150 most of the time is added in the mix to really boost the UVB absorbance, and therefore you can even increase more the SPF without adding too much of filters. So like I have said, this one is 100% fragrance free. It also avoids avobenzone, octocrylene, which is also very famous to trigger irritation, oxybenzone, which I never talk about because I have to say that in Europe, also in Asia, like in South Korea, basically in most sunscreen that I see, and most sunscreens that I see and I study, I never find it. You only find it still in the United States, which is very unfortunate. This one is a tiny filters, and therefore it can penetrate in the skin, triggers more irritation, etc. You won't have a problem with this one. It's very, very unlikely. This is why I love it so much. So this is a hardcore sunscreen. Therefore, most of the time they are pretty greasy, because to achieve this level of SPF and UV protection, well, you need a lot of filters, so high greasiness. Is it perfectly possible to make it work without making it like a greasy mess? A good example, but I'm going to film like a whole dedicated video to this. But what you can do is that you do your skincare routine. You can use a mattifying primer like the one that you use for makeup, for example, and then you're going to apply this bad boy, and on top you either apply like a matte foundation, for example, but dab it on top, and then some powder, for example. The last one, I didn't use it on my face just because I can't. But I have tried it many times on my hands, on my arms, and on my favorite guinea pig on the planet Earth, which is my partner. He will be so happy to listen to me. But yeah, and this one, my boyfriend really likes this one. So this is an SPF of 50 plus, probably an SPF of 73, but the UVA protection, people, I hope like you sit, UVA protection of 67. 67! It's like a holy grail. The only thing, like I told you, it has avobenzone, so I cannot use it on my face. I did it once, but I immediately rinse it. I am sensitive to avobenzone. I don't know if it is a proper allergic reaction or just a sensitization, but I start to get red and etc. My skin starts to be a little bit itchy. If you add octopinone in the mix, I'm like, bye-bye girl, my skin just doesn't want it, which is fine. This is probably not your case, but okay. It has perfume. This is one of the downside. It's not too strong in this one. It's okay. It's a little bit floral, you know, like a little bit of flowers. Is not too strong, but I'm telling you now, the filter combination is the bomb. The first one is homosalate. Homosalate is a UVB absorbent. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure of it. Homosalate is used to dissolve the other filters. The second filters is Tinazop M. I mean, do I still have to talk about Tinazop M? Wonderful broad organic spectrum that absorb UVB, UVA type 2, UVA type 1, very close to visible light. I mean, if you are suffering from hyperpigmentation, Tinazop M is your boyfriend, your girlfriend, like you wonderful friend, really. Then we have the famous avobenzone. So avobenzone is mainly a UVA type 1 absorbent that is stabilized here by Tinazop S, which is the last filters. Again, I mean, Tinazop M combined with Tinazop S plus avobenzone, I mean, this is why the UVA protection is so high. Another advantage, and this is something that I don't talk a lot, is that Tinazop M is soluble in water. The way that the Tinazop M is made, it is coated on a matrix, so like on sort of small particles in a way that is coated with Tinazop M. And the Tinazop M, when it's it's soluble in the water phase. So what does it mean? It means that when a sunscreen when a sunscreen contains Tinazop M, the Tinazop M is soluble in the water and not in greasiness, which is probably why in this one it is not super greasy despite the super high protection. And indeed it dries almost matte. So if you are looking for a hardcore sunscreen that is not too greasy, this is the one to choose. It has one major downside, like big downside. 30 ml. I'm like, come on girl, 30 ml for a sunscreen? I mean, no. So this is little, but if you are really looking for a texture that is very nice, that is matte, and you need like this extra level of protection, this one is the one to go. It has a white cast because Tinazop M does also absorb some visible light, so therefore it has a white cast. Is it a dreadful white cast? Absolutely not. I don't know if you will be able to see it, but on my skin it is almost invisible. On my partner, it does have medium skin tone. It is perfectly fine. It is like slightly fairer, but barely. It's fine. If you have very dark skin, it will be more difficult to work with, unless, of course, you are wearing makeup. In that case, because if you are suffering from hyperpigmentation, it is an excellent idea to use a good foundation on top of your sunscreen. But don't like rub it. You use a sponge and you dab it. Dab, people, because you don't want to disrupt the layer of sunscreen. You do not want. What else to tell you about this one? I think that's it, basically. So those two are like wonderful. I mean, try them. I wish I could use this one on my face because it's super matte. This is like a sort of a little bit of the dupe of the Anessa. I do not know if this one is waterproof. I mean, it is not mentioned by the brand, but if you can use it, I mean, try this baby, like try it. Okay, so basically that's it. I'm going to film the same video but en français, in French, and I'm also going to cuddle my dog. I think the baby is sleeping. Oh yes, indeed. He doesn't like me when I talk about sunscreen. Anyway, so people, if you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up and don't forget also to share my video because, well, spread the love for HARCORE sunscreen. Also, if you are new, you know what to do. Subscribe and don't forget the beautiful bell to get notified every time I post a new videos. I have also 2 Instagram accounts, one in English and one in French. A lot of stuff is happening on my Instagram account. You would have known that I've played a lot about this one if you are following me on Instagram, so go water on Instagram, subscribe here, run to my Instagram account, and well, basically that's it. Au revoir.